Oh my god, we love the Hawaii weather, making this whole situation like very in and out with the lighting. It's great. Hold on 1 second. I'm just gonna post something on Instagram, let everyone know that we are live for the stream. Dos segundos. I also left my tablet over there, so I'll be there. Second, but hold on. Good morning, everybody, and happy Wednesday. Today we are starting out the day bright and early, 10 a.m. with a stream. We are currently live for my book stream, and I'm in my pajamas doing it. What could be better? What could be better? Good morning, everybody, and happy Wednesday. Today we are starting out the You're day adorable. Bright and early, 10 a.m. Okay, now let me grab my tablet. So book stream. Let me grab my tablet so I can actually, because that's where all my notes on this book are.
That makes sense.
That makes sense, and we probably want to see those notes while we discuss it.
This is possible. These are possibilities.
This, I don't know if you can hear him in the back, but this man, sassy as hell this morning. I am live.
I thought you were just doing like the ad for.
Oh, this man, he's great. He's great. No, we're keeping it.
Now the world will know.
Now the world will know how sassy you are. He's a bully, I swear. Okay.
Yeah.
Quick, just disclaimer, I am in my pajamas. I'm not ready today. I'm not wearing makeup. Because my plan had originally been this morning that I've been struggling to wake up since the second quarantine in Hawaii. I've been struggling to wake up in the mornings. And so I knew I wasn't going to wake up at a decent time to do my laundry before the stream. So the plan had been I was just going to brush my teeth, do the stream with you guys, and I was going to work out on the roof while my laundry's going, and then shower and get ready for the day and all that. But then when I woke up, it was pouring rain first. It was only for like 2 minutes, but it was literally as if someone was just like doing the ice bucket challenge on the state of Hawaii. So we'll see how this whole workout thing turns out. We'll see what happens with that. But that's why I'm in pajamas today. I'm not mad about it. I'm not complaining. This might be what book streams turn into since I'm doing them earlier now. We'll see. But the book. Okay, today. This lighting. I can't. It's rough. It's a rough situation. This looks more even. But if a cloud passes by, then it's just darkness. It's fine. We'll deal with it. Okay. So I read The Christmas Tree Thief. Let's go over 5 things you need to know about this book. We have this chick, Charlotte, who was at some point a therapist or psychiatrist, something like that. And she has moved into this new town to work at their small little bookshop. It's a small town. Everyone knows each other kind of place. There's like one clothing store kind of thing. That type of small town. In this town, someone's been stealing Christmas trees. It's the title. The main cop in this town is a genuine asshole. And he is pretty much stalking Charlotte. Like, for all intents and purposes, this guy is stalking Charlotte. He's genuinely followed her home and just stared at her from the balcony. He pulled her over for no reason, held her there for like an hour to he tried to say she was drunk. Nothing came up on the breathalyzer. He searched her entire car, and when someone sped past their whole shenanigans so fast that a rock literally broke her windshield, she's like, "Hey, aren't you going to stop this guy who's just careening down the road?" I didn't see anything. So this guy's an asshole. Everyone in the town is blaming the thefts of the Christmas trees on this one family that owns a Christmas tree farm, because only artificial trees have been stolen, and they've been getting them replaced with real trees from the Christmas tree farm. Everyone's like, oh, I don't know. These thefts, they're really they're boosting business for these people. And saying everyone in town is a bit of a stretch, but it seems like a lot of the town is very quick to blame this one family. And the history behind that is, again, it's a very small town. So Darcy is the current owner of the Christmas tree farm. His father essentially drove the farm to the point of nearly running out of business. They are in a decent amount of debt right now because his wife ran off with another person in town's husband, and they ran off together. And for some reason, like I don't understand this, but for some reason, so Octavia is the woman whose husband left, right? And she blames the entire family for the fact that her husband left with this woman, including the son. Like, I don't know. I understand being angry. Maybe even being angry at the ex-spouse of the person that took your spouse. Fine. But why are you mad at the child? I don't know how old Darcy was when all this happened. But, like, if anyone is not involved in the love life of someone, it is their child. You know? Like, I don't think a child is going out and saying, hey, Ma, look at that guy. He's fine. Go out with him. Forget Dad. Go out with him. I don't think people are really doing that. I don't think the child is the source of all this. So for her anger to be so heavily directed at them doesn't make sense to me. Granted, it seems as if there is some other beef, some other drama going down with this family and someone else, but that particular bit just doesn't like compute with me. See, I told you, like the clouds, and now it's darker, and now just my tablet is lighting my face weird. It's great. We're doing it. You know what I didn't do this morning? I didn't open the stream to make sure that any audio is actually coming out, because if we know anything about my streams, it's that sometimes they just don't like to make noise. There we go. They just don't always like to make noise. And you know, we respect the choice. We respect that they can do that, but we prefer it when they make noise. But yeah, so a good chunk of this town is blaming these people. They're blaming them. Charlotte, our main character, who I've only talked about once so far. So she has seen she's actually seen several of the thefts in town. And for that reason, like, I don't know why. Again, it seems like he just has some bias against her. The cop just doesn't like her. I don't know. I don't understand why. It seems like there's also some beef with the son of the chick who actually owns the bookshop that Charlotte's working at. But she comes to town and she sees one of the thefts happening. So she calls the police, as, you know, because that sounds like something you should do, right? And he comes in, immediately accuses her of doing this, and proceeds to not really do anything about it. Just calls the shop owners and tells them they need to clean up the glass. So Charlotte has also been targeted by the thieves before. Everyone's at this big Christmas party at the end of I think it's not even a Christmas party, it's Christmas Eve party. And the Darcy and his family come down. Just because, you know, towns, they want to say hi. They want to have some Christmas spirit because they are, again, not struggling right now. So they're not going to be able to do much for Christmas themselves. So they come down. And immediately you get people throwing accusations their way. Another tree has been stolen along with the high chair. and Darcy's wife is currently like really, really pregnant. So everyone's like, I don't know, who else needs a high chair in this town? It's kind of suspicious. So they blame Darcy and his family. They leave, and then Charlotte goes off somewhere. She wants to take a breath because she's so frustrated with everyone, and she doesn't run into them, but she sees the thieves and hears them talking about how they're going to steal another tree. And this time, since Darcy's family is gone, when this one's stolen, everyone's going to be like, oh, for sure it's them, because they weren't here and they left really upset, so they probably stole the tree. So Charlotte goes to follow them, and the thief turns and it's like, I see you. You're not sneaky. Just like my cats, you're not sneaky. They almost kill her. Pretty much. Because again, like, for the most part, there's not anything super, like, crazy gruesome in this book, but it's still, like, a murder mystery author, so they almost kill her. Because that seems appropriate. And for the genre, that's appropriate. And she gets away. She, like, knees him in the crotch and gets away. But they also get away. So everyone decides, as, like, a big apology, they want to go over to Darcy's tree farm, where him and his family live, take a bunch of Christmas food, and apologize. They go out there. I'm not going to lie. They start singing Christmas carols. They sing, I forgot what song it is that they sing, but they sing a Christmas carol. I teared up a little bit. Christmas! Holidays! But something's going on. There's some weird light. So Charlotte goes over and sees that the thieves are now trying to destroy the evidence of what they've done. The cop comes over, and for the most part, it makes it seem like he was almost certainly a part of the Christmas tree thefts, because he goes over to them, calls them by name, and is like, hey, I have to arrest you. The two guys start laughing, like, come on, guy, come help us with this. So obviously he was a part of all of this for some reason. But they do get them arrested. Santa comes, gives Darcy and his family some gifts. They give them some money that Charlotte and the bookshop have raised to help them, give them some breathing room from all the stress and of debt. And that's really where the book ends. So, some smaller things to talk about is something that caught my eye at the very, I just saw it, and it was weird at the beginning of the book. So again, this is a small town. To go to, like, a supermarket, you have to go to another town. And supermarket or some store was from another town, came in, was passing out flyers to the people walking by. And Charlotte goes up to the guy passing out flyers and says, hey, isn't it unfair to the people to the shop owners in town for you to be passing out flyers for your out-of-town stores? And I just don't understand how that's unfair, Like, it's not like they brought the store, it's not like they brought a massive pop-up shop to the small town. It's not like they brought a Payless next to the old cobbler shop. That's, it's just a guy handing out flyers. People in town still would have to take themselves to make their own whole ass drive to get to another town to go to this shop. And if they do not want to go to your shop that's just right here. So I don't understand how that would be unfair. That was just one thing that just it didn't quite compute, And it just seemed, it was a weird line to me. I don't particularly, it didn't really add anything to the story, but it was just weird. There was also just another line, because again, like I said at the beginning, Charlotte is some sort of therapist, psychiatrist, mental health professional. And at the beginning, when she first saw that first shop get robbed of their Christmas tree, shop owner comes over to her and to thank her for trying to help. And Charlotte just goes into Dr. Dean mode, where she is just rattling off these generic sentiments of don't be stressed, it's not your fault, and literally just going off a list of those. And that's her Dr. Dean. And I'm not gonna lie, if that is accurate to her as Dr. Dean, she's a bad therapist. She is unprompted by this woman to say any of these things. She's not bouncing off of this woman's reaction. She's just like, oh, this is the situation we're in. Okay, here's just a bunch of like basic things I can say that could theoretically help someone right now. And yeah, if this was accurately how she acted as a therapist, she's a bad therapist and she should not be a therapist. There's also like this underlying story of, I think one of her patients holds her captive in a cave at some point. You know, maybe if she was a better therapist, that wouldn't have happened. Joking, but like, she's not doing well. Okay. In general, with this book, so there's a thing that I've always heard as I've always heard as a writer, as someone getting into writing, that it feels like just that phrase everyone says, show, don't tell. And it never became clear to me why that's an issue than it was in this book. Because, how do I explain it? There's a scene where, like, the best way to explain it is there's a scene in the book where she's talking about her and the son of the bookshop owner. And she's literally saying, we talked. We talked. He said a thing. I said something to make to try and change the subject. It made the moment awkward. And that's actually what we get in text, as opposed to actually putting in the dialogue that was used. What he said, they might have said what he said, but they don't show how she changed the subject, what she changed the subject to. They don't describe what it felt like for the situation to now be awkward. They just say, I tried to change the subject, now things are awkward. And they do that a lot throughout the book. Like, they'll say, we're in a rush in the store. They don't describe necessarily what it's like, especially in the beginning. They don't really describe what it's like to be in the rush. They don't describe what she's doing. They just say, we're in the rush. We're out of the rush now. We're drinking coffee now. And it made the passage of time in this book very clunky, very awkward. And it was hard to get into. Speaking of things that were really hard, it was hard for me to get into this book in general, because I wasn't super interested. Like, I know they had a lot of things that were trying to push me in the direction of, oh my god, Charlotte has such an interesting past. But the way they were, like, hinting at it made it obvious that I wasn't gonna get much of any information about it this book, so I wasn't super invested. Like, this whole situation that she had some past with the bookstore owner's kid. They keep hinting at it. They keep throwing out, like, little bits of, like, oh, I see him, my heart flutters, it shouldn't do that. And that's really what we get in terms of the situation, in terms of whatever happens. I think we do get one line of, like, he'll come in guns blazing like he did before. But that's the most that we get. So I kind of just tuned those sections out because I knew it wasn't going to amount to anything in this book. We also get bits of, it seems like her mother has Alzheimer's. And she has Alzheimer's and probably some other health issues that went untreated her whole life and have caused her to be not a great parent to Charlotte. And that has put some other issues on Charlotte, but I feel like I don't really see much of, like, I don't really see it delved into enough. It's not touched on enough in this book for it to feel like a part of who Charlotte is, part of what she's going through right now. It also was something that I could easily tune out because it wasn't really affecting the story at all. I think the only time it actually had an impact on the story was she got some message about her mother and it sent her, she started crying, ran out of the house, went over to the falls of the town. The town's called Kingfisher Falls. She goes over to the falls and then gets stopped by the cop again. Other than that, for the most part, it didn't really amount to anything within the story, so I was able to tune it out. And so a lot of the stuff, I wasn't super invested in Charlotte as a character. A lot of the other people in town seemed great. Like, the Darcy's son, Latchy, I think is how his name would be pronounced. His son, adorable. He's like a little businessman. He's literally over there working at the Christmas tree farm. He probably needs to help the family, but for the most part, I don't think this kid wants anything else with his life. He's a little entrepreneur. He's over there. He's calling his mother Mrs. Forrest. He's helping to sell Charlotte stuff. He's putting sales on her. He's adorable. I love that child. You have Rosie, who is the shop owner, who's the sassy woman. She's in a wheelchair, but she's very proud of herself for how she's able to like get around this massive hilly town in a wheelchair just on a day-to-day basis. The only time she ever takes a car is if it's raining. But she's sassy, she's smart. You have these this book club that comes into the bookshop. They're all assholes, but it's a character. It's a lot of personality in the character, and I love that. So I was invested in some of the characters throughout the town. Charlotte just wasn't really that it for me. And I will say, in the end of the book, the thieves are people we've literally never met before, which I kind of figured it would be as the book goes on. Yes, we do have characters who have interacted with the thieves, but the thieves and the people that he got pinned on are people we've never met before, and they claim to have been getting paid to steal these Christmas trees. So we don't really know who. God, the light. Ugh. We don't know who the mastermind of everything is, but we do have the people that were actually getting down and dirty, stealing the trees. And while I have in the past made fun of in the past, present, and the future, I've made a fun of the idea of a mystery making the person someone we've literally never seen before, some random person. And it's usually something that would irritate me because I feel like it's a cheap way for the author to feel proud of themselves. Like, oh, you didn't see this coming. But it's the same as like, it was all a dream. It's kind of one of those cheap endings you don't actually have to work to get. For me, this one didn't bother me because this whole thing felt like it was a part of a bigger story. Like, even as the book ended, it felt like and the author made it clear that there's a bigger story going on with even the Christmas tree thieves. There are a lot of people to still keep an eye out for in this town, like the cop, like I think the girlfriend of one of the hi Chunk, You coming? Come here. I have a cat. This is Chunk. Yes, it's Chunk. Okay. But the cop, the girlfriend of one of the Christmas tree thieves, Veronica, she's shady as hell. She's been in, I don't know how long she's been in this town, but she's literally got to town, opened a shoe store right next to the cobbler. She went out of business because he was better. Then she opened a plateware store next to the china shop. She went out of business because he was better. Now she's opened a gardening shop to compete with the Christmas tree farm, and she's probably about to go out of business. She's also, they've hinted at the idea that she's also opened a bookshop next to their bookstore, and she's gone out of business. So she's shady. But that could also be a thing of if they're able to get people to not go to Darcy's Christmas tree farm, put the family out of business, she's their only option for Christmas trees now. But so there are it does hint at the fact that this is just the beginning of a bigger story. So I didn't really mind that it was just some random people, but again, I just felt like I wasn't super invested in the story by the time the ending came around. That was just like, okay. Like, I get that this is going somewhere else, but it's fine. It's whatever. One other thing to note about this book, I don't know. I probably could look it up, but I don't know if the author is Australian, but this book does take place in Australia. So that could also be, there could also be some of the reason why some of the writing itself didn't really, mesh for me. It didn't really go well for me. That could be just some, dialect differences. He's nibbling on my fingers. It could be just some dialect differences, stuff like that. So it's not necessarily, I wouldn't say it's a bad book, honestly. If you're in the mood for a Christmas mystery, I'd still, yeah, I'm more than welcome to. Maybe I could see someone else finding this more interesting, and frankly, if I had the demand for it, I wouldn't be opposed to reading the second book in the series. It's just not necessarily something I'm ecstatic for, something I'm planning on reaching for. But it's not a bad book. I think it's fine. I think there are a lot of characters in this that are sweet. I think there are a lot of sweet moments between the characters. There's a moment where Charlotte and Rosie, the shop owner, are talking to each other. They're talking about how Rosie misses her husband, how she ends up talking about how she actually ended up losing the ability to use her legs. So there's some sweet moments between the characters in the book, and again, I did tear up when they started singing Christmas songs to Darcy's family. I did tear up. It was adorable. It was very cute. I teared up when they also gave them a bunch of baby stuff. They gave them some vouchers to get clothes for her to get clothes after the baby. They gave them bassinet, I think, and they got them vouchers to get food at the Italian place in town, while also the number of someone who's already signed up to babysit that night, so parents can go get a date night in. There's some cute, ow, you're scratching me. There's some cute moments in it. So I definitely, if it sounds interesting to you, I wouldn't dissuade you from reading this book. It's a sweet book. But yeah, that's it for me. As you may have heard when I did the little Instagram, blah blah. As you may have seen on the description of this stream, this is the only holiday book I'm going to be reading, because I probably will not be able to finish another book before Christmas. Honestly, I might not be able to finish another thing before the new year. But the next book that I do want to read has snow in it, so seasons. It's still winter. It works. It's also, I had this massive book haul that I got, and I was trying not to start any of these books until 2021, but this is literally one of my favorite book series in this world, and I haven't finished it. I read up to book 6, and then book 7 came out, and I just couldn't afford to get the book 7. I had all the other books, but I couldn't get book 7, and because I honestly didn't know when book 7 ended up getting released, and then I just didn't have the money when book 7 was out, and I then just got to a point where it's been so long since I've read the series that I would want to wait until I like reread it to get to read book 7. And so I ended up like I spent a lot of money on books one day. I got like I already had this book on Kindle, but the paperback copy of the book was dirt cheap, and I got like the next 2, maybe 3 books on Kindle. It is magic. This is the first book in the Septimus Heap series. I'm so excited to read this. I'm so excited to read this. It's such a good series. I loved it so much, and I'm really excited to read this again. So that's going to be what I'll spend my time doing for a while. It is a thick book. I'm excited. So maybe I'll get this out in a couple weeks. It probably won't be until the new year that we actually are doing this stream, but Septimus Heap Magic, that is the next book I will be reading. But until next time, valedictions, friends. Say bye!